So at least once a week, sometimes more than that, I ask you some version of, are you sure you love me? Like, for real, for reals. But you don't do that. So what's wrong with me that's not wrong with you?
You're a woman.
Oh, what a wonderful compliment. Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. But in any case, let's figure it out. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we show you how to find and build a healthy marriage as a Muslim. I'm Zara Hassan.
And I'm AJ, and we've been married for 4 years.
And let's get started.
Let's get started.
So this week's episode is entitled, Would You Love Me If I Was a Worm? I could feel you being triggered by that because I think that's come up literally.
No, I would never get triggered by that question. That's a natural response. Of course I would love you.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
I'd keep you in the fishbowl. I would take out the fish, obviously.
Of course. But then I really like that answer. And there's a part of this podcast episode that's going to come up about how men, well, my advice to men when this question inevitably comes up in their marriage. Don't laugh. When you hear my advice, don't laugh. But before we get to that, let's go through the question. This is going to be asked by a brother through the Muslim Marriage subreddit. And he says, Salam, what does it mean when my wife keeps asking questions like, would you remarry if I died? And then gets upset when I say yes? I know I probably shouldn't say yes, but she's asked the same question at least 20 times. I've already told her that I wouldn't and asked her to please stop bringing it up. A few days ago, we started watching a TV series where a woman disappears for 5 years and her fiancé has married someone else by the time she returns. Ever since then, my wife has been asking me what I would do if something similar happened to us. It's been 1 year that we were married, and she keeps finding new ways to ask the same question over and over. If I say I would wait for her forever, she calls me a liar. If I say I would eventually move on and remarry, she gets angry. I'm not sure what to make of this behavior. So, what are your thoughts?
I think the show that they watched was the one where they were in an airplane and they disappear.
Yeah.
And they come back like a couple of years later.
Yeah.
I think it's like maybe 10 years later or whatever.
I forget what it's called, but I know that's exactly what I thought of too.
Yeah. Okay, so anyways, with regards to her questions, she has the right to ask those questions regardless of how silly they are.
Yeah.
Right? And it's your duty as the husband to always answer the way that you would answer, right?
Honestly?
Yeah, you want to answer honestly, unless your honest is triggering or bad news, right? Then you don't want to answer honestly. You want to assuage their concerns, right?
Okay.
But in my case, I'm going to be speaking from the heart. I'd be saying, stop asking me those questions.
I think you said that. And then that holds it off for 2 weeks instead of 1 week, and then we're right back where we started.
Yeah, so honestly, like, I don't think about those scenarios.
No, you
right?
don't. There's a reason for that.
Because if you were to ask questions like that, I think my go-to, honestly, would just be like, that's not a scenario I ever want to think about.
Yeah.
You know? And if you pass away, I'm less healthy than you are. So I assume that I would have been long gone, you know?
It's from The Office?
It's from life as well.
Oh, it's from life?
Yeah, we draw from The Office.
Yes.
Some inspiration.
Yeah.
But we also, that's just objective truth.
I think the exact quote was Pam needed they asked Pam why she didn't have a spare key. And she said, I asked Dwight for a spare key. And she said, Dwight, what if you and management passes away? He said, if I passed away, you've been dead for weeks. So you don't need the key is the assumption. Anyway, on that side note, go ahead.
Yeah. So like it's a very dark question.
It really is.
You know?
Okay, well let's go back
all
to the
variations of it. Like if I was a worm, if I was dead, if I was some people even started asking if I was a piece of mud, you know?
That is an interesting. Okay.
And it's like, okay, well, do you have fantasies
like,
of being a worm, of being a piece of mud?
No, but there's a common denominator here.
Yeah.
Out of all of these things, there's a reason why they're phrased so intricately and so carefully. Could you get any guesses what the common denominator would be?
Insecurity.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what it is. This is specifically attachment insecurity. What I have noticed, and this is just in my opinion, is that the underlying theme of all of these questions is, would you reject? Is there a scenario in which you would reject me? That's what they're asking. Like, that's why sometimes the scenarios are, if I was a worm. Sometimes they're much more intricate than that and much more specific, because what we're trying to do is create a scenario in which that you would say, yes, I would reject you in this scenario.
Yeah.
And even though it doesn't seem like a big deal to you on your end, what we're hearing is, yes, I reject you. You're right. I reject you, and everything that you thought about who I was is false. I'm not that person. I am someone who would reject you.
That question, I think, becomes nonsensical when a Muslim asks a Muslim, right?
Yeah.
Because the answer is going to be yes, there are going to be certain scenarios in which a person is going to be rejected, right?
Well, yeah, but that's not, yeah, this is true, but they're asking.
But I think that's where that question, if you were to ask a non-Muslim, because they don't have such strong religious foundations, they might not automatically assume, oh yeah, of course, I'm going to reject you for the sake of God if you do something that's against the religion, right?
Yeah, but what we do, and you've seen me do this immediately, is to say, okay, assuming that that's not, like, I just put those caveats in place.
Yeah.
So,
but to continue, like, from my perspective,
yeah.
So if you were to say, would you still love me if I were a worm, right? I'd have to say religiously, not from the same perspective, you know? I'd have to reject you.
And then I would say, okay, not romantically.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I would put you in a fishbowl.
Exactly. So that means,
and I would take care of you.
So we immediately just neutralize that with caveats, because we're trying to get to the heart of the matter is, would you reject me, right?
Yeah, don't expect me to be married to a worm is what I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we haven't spoken about them in detail. I know I've said that we're going to do an episode about attachment insecurity. In fact, a series of episodes on attachment insecurity, but it's a large enough topic that I'm working on crafting those episodes, because I want to make sure I get those right. In Shaa Allah. But for basic knowledge, there are 4 different types of attachment styles that have been suggested. One is secure attachment, and the other 3 are insecure attachments. The insecure attachments are motivated by one fear or another.
Yeah.
Right? So if a individual has primarily a fear of abandonment, they tend to develop anxious attachment style and have all of their behaviors trying to minimize or deal with or cope with this fear of abandonment. If they have a fear of emotional intimacy, they can be dismissive avoidant. And if they have a fear of rejection, they can have fearful avoidant attachment style. The way in which each person develops an attachment style is dependent upon their relationship with their caregiver during childhood and when they grow older, because the relationship with the caregiver is so similar to their relationship with the romantic partner. They will react to their romantic partner according to their attachment style. Having an attachment style that is insecure doesn't mean that you are somehow weaker or a worse person. It's not a mental health illness. It's just the way in which you happen to relate to other people based on the way that you learn to relate to your caregivers. And I am somebody who has a fearful avoidant attachment insecurity. And as a proud fearful avoidant member of the fearful avoidant group, I have my primary fear is the fear of rejection. So those of us who carry this fear of rejection tend to be the ones who are crafting these questions over and over again, because the reason why they're doing that is we have this idea of who you are, right? Or of who you are ideally, like our romantic partner. So in this case, for me, it's you. It's this person who profoundly accepts me. That's what it is that I see you as, and I appreciate that. But you're a human being.
Yeah.
Right. So my idea of your acceptance is probably goes beyond what a capacity of a human being does, because that's how much I need to soothe this fear of rejection,
Mm-hmm.
this pain around being rejected. And sometimes I'll feel insecure, and I would need to extract from you this reassurance, this very specific reassurance from you. And I mean, I can't trust you to say the right words.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to ask you this exact question, and all I need from you is a yes. And when I hear that yes, there you go. When I hear that yes, it makes me, it soothes that fear of rejection and that and that insecurity, that momentary insecurity, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how healed you are, you might be able to accept that yes, or just like this, his wife, the gentleman in the question, his wife is not able to accept the yes. She says, "You're lying." Would you love me if I was a worm? And he says, "Yes, you were lying. No one could love a worm."
His problem is that he changed his answer.
I think the issue is that she is further up on the spectrum, that she is less introspective, that she's less self-aware of what it is that's going on, and what she needs is more reassurance. And what she's hoping for in that in that moment, is that he will convince her.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to go above and beyond and convince her, "No, I am not lying. I am this wonderful person that you think I am, and there is no scenario in which I would ever reject you." That's what she's actually hoping would happen. But because, unlike most people, her husband can't read her mind. He doesn't do that.
There's a simple solution for him, by the way.
Yes.
If she keeps asking, "Would you love me if I were a worm?"
Mm-hmm.
What he should say is, "Okay, well, how about this? For 1 week, whenever you're home, just pretend that you're a worm.
Yeah.
And I'll just take care of you, you know? And if you find that my ability to care for you is lacking, then you'll have your answer."
There you
and
go.
then for that week, he literally does everything he can to care for her.
Yeah.
Right? And then if she asks that question again, he's going to be like, remember your situation that you were in like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That's how much I love you.
That's very sweet. Honestly,
back to the kitchen.
That would probably sir, even somebody very far up on the spectrum would force you to believe them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I believe you, but I'm sure that somebody would.
I have asked her to go back to the kitchen.
What kitchen? Me?
No.
Who?
The person in that scenario.
Yeah.
I asked them, go back to the kitchen.
Why?
Because that's where the fishbowl is, silly.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. Now I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I just realized this. For insects, dinosaurs are still around.
Yeah. Where are the dinosaurs?
No, the T-Rex is a chicken.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. All right. Seems super relevant, my dear.
If she asks,
"Oh,
would you love me if I were a worm?"
Yeah.
I would say, yes. I'd even take you out for walks, and I'd make sure that no chickens get to you.
Yes. You would just say that to me directly without context.
Do you know how slippery chickens are?
I think I don't know. Oh,
I don't mean like physically slick. I'm talking about they can dodge and maneuver.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen the videos.
Yeah,
I've seen the YouTube videos, but
the ones that I uploaded.
Yes.
Okay.
But so hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So this is so let's speak to the women for the moment, and then after that we'll switch to speaking to the men and giving them advice. And the reason why that is because even men who are fearful, avoidant, in my experience, don't tend to take this approach. They don't assuage their fears of rejection by asking intricate scenario questions. I haven't seen it if it happens. This is something that I've seen primarily amongst women over the years. So I'm just going to be speaking to the women for a moment. So hopefully that gives you some insight into what's going on internally. So what can we do about it? Number one is if you think that you might be primarily motivated by a fear of rejection, more so than the other fears that we listed, step one is always education, self-education, right? There are so many amazing and wonderful and great resources that are available on the internet, throughout, particularly on YouTube. I always recommend to my clients, and on podcast episodes, you can start with Thais Gibson. Her name is spelled Thais Gibson. She has a whole channel that's dedicated to attachment styles and attachment insecurity. So you can just type in her name, comma, fearful avoidant, if that's what you think might be going on. And go through some of her videos and see if you resonate with what she's talking about. And the reason why I really like her content is because she focuses a lot on on practical strategies. So step 1, education. Step 2, apply that education and come up with strategies that work for you in order to start to reprogram or program away from these ideas, these false beliefs, these core wounds centered around this fear of rejection, right? So once you have some information, and based on the information, you come up with strategies, try to apply those strategies with practice and come up with things that work for you in order to try to start to reprogram away, particularly when you feel triggered, whenever you feel the negative feelings, the storytelling, as you'll see from her content, will start flare up. Then you start to apply the strategies, the self-soothing techniques, apply the affirmations to start to program yourself away. If you have more questions about how to do that specifically, you can always reach out to me on my website, www.zarahassancoaching.com. You can ask in the comments below. You can ask on any of the, I think, dozen ways that we're available on the internet now, and I'll be happy to answer your question as best as I can. But that's the two steps that I would recommend for you to start to address this away from your husband. Right? You can always ask him for help. That's why he's there. But it's important that we take responsibility for our own emotional baggage, and that we understand what that baggage is, and we take responsibility for making our emotional burdens lighter, right?
Yeah.
Whether that's processing and letting go, or reprogramming, or whatever that looks like for you, but taking responsibility with and dealing with our own emotional baggage away from our spouse, because that can lead to resentment, right? So that's my advice for the women who feel like they're in this category. So the next question I would get is, well, what about the people who are anxiously attached? Do they not do this? Well, definitely they can. But the question, the source of the question is not going to be centered around, is there a scenario in which you would reject me? It would be more asked towards, is there a scenario in which you would leave me? Because people who are anxiously attached tend to be worried about fear abandonment more than anything else. So those would be the ones who would try to create scenarios. So if it was, for example, this case where they watched that show where somebody left and then came back 5 years, like the wife was thought long gone, so he remarried. 5 years later, she came back. What she would be concerned about in his answer is not so much as, would you choose someone else over me, but she would be concerned of, would you leave me? Like, would you stop being my husband anymore?
Yeah.
That it would be that element of the question that would be more upsetting to her, rather than him saying, no, I prefer this woman over you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's subtle, but the nature of the question, of what she's trying to get at, is different. Of what's soothing is different. So it's important to, if you find yourself asking your husband these types of questions often, and he's getting frustrated, as he should, but it's, try to suss out, what answer are you looking for specifically. Are you looking for an answer in which he reassures you that he accepts you, and that there's no scenario in which he would push you, like that he would reject you? Or are you looking for an answer in which he reassures you that he would never leave you?
Yeah.
Like, which of the two is it? And then based on that, go and check out Thais Gibson's content. She's not she doesn't know I exist, so this is not sponsored content in any way, but check out her content and see if you have an attachment insecurity, and get to work on that. So that's my advice to the women. With respect to the men, so your advice to the men is, answer honestly, unless unless it's a answer she doesn't want, then just lie.
Yeah, I think that would be the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, specifically you need to stay consistent,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you gave the answer, whether truthful or not, that you would not remarry,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then she asks you in the future,
Mm-hmm.
you need to remain consistent, because what they're looking for is also consistency. Because you said yes to marrying them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And whether you had the conversation or not, you likely also may have said yes to them being your only wife.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so whenever they ask you that question, if you now start saying, yeah, I'll marry someone after you pass away, you've just shown inconsistency. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's more worrying than the answer itself.
I disagree.
Oh, yeah, you do?
Yeah, I disagree.
Go ahead.
My advice, the inconsistency is an issue, right?
Yeah.
But we're very good at lying to ourselves. So
Woman?
I can excuse that away. If you one day told me, you know what, I couldn't if you were a worm, because you're a worm. What am I gonna do with a worm? And then 2 months later, you're like, I've changed my mind. You're right. I would believe your second answer, because I'm looking to believe what I want to hear. Right? I want to believe what I want to hear. That's
but then
how
what that would do is it would also give the woman the impression that the man is fickle. You know?
You are using rationale.
Oh.
For a completely irrational question. The
Well,
question is already, the whole situation is irrational.
I understand. Well, it is an irrational question.
Yeah.
Right? But that's my advice to the men.
No, that's good advice.
Is to remain consistent.
Yeah, no, hopefully you got them early enough that they didn't give that answer yet.
Yeah.
And then they'll now know what to do. So my advice to the men is, what she wants to hear, just say it. Yeah. Just say it. And if she fights you on it and says, no, I don't believe you, you're lying because this A, B, C, D, just understand that this is someone who's coming from a place where she's feeling insecure because she's worried that you'd reject her. So if she's worried that you'd reject her, speak to that. Just say, I would accept you no matter if you were a worm, if you were a bird, if you were mud, whatever it is. I chose you because I accept you, and there's no situation in which I wouldn't accept you.
Yeah.
That would land with her more likely, because you'd be speaking to the heart of the matter that she's probably not even aware of that's going on. Or if your wife's questions are centered around you leaving, then just reassure her there's no situation in which I would leave you. And just reassure her with that.
You could be like, and if I do happen to leave, don't worry.
No.
I'm just going to come back 9 hours later. That's called working.
Okay. So you're going to trigger me for that 2 seconds in order to just to build that in for the because I'm triggered just for you.
Yeah. I mean, she would have said no as well, right?
Yeah.
Probably toss a plate or two.
It's not worth it. I promise you, it's not worth triggering an already insecure person in that moment of insecurity. So my advice is just say what she wants to hear, and speak to the fear that it is that she probably has, whether it's rejection or abandonment. And if you're not sure which one, speak to them both, right? Other piece of advice I would give you is if you show your wife this episode of the podcast, because if she is like I was for a very long time and is just not aware of what's going on, because a lot of this happens in the subconscious plane, then hopefully this might be information that can be helpful for her, that'll be able to access, that'll give her access to parts of herself that she can start to do some work on, because living as an unaware or unself-aware, I don't know how to say that, so fearful avoidance is painful.
And honestly,
it's very painful.
If you do show her this episode, also ask her to subscribe.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be great, but it's not that would be great. But that's what it is. So I would recommend that you say what she wants, speak to the fear that it's probably going on, and also show her this episode. Hopefully that will be helpful for him.
I wonder how many people
Mhm.
has Akimbewale showed the podcast.
At least 300.
I think he's our strongest fighter.
You know what you said? Like I'm not sure. I'm guessing that Akimbewale is a name that's common in Nigeria,
Yeah.
right? And beautiful place that I've been to. Alhamdulillah, we were in Abuja, very very beautiful. Tabarakallah. But the third largest group of listeners that we have is always from Nigeria.
Yep.
And I appreciate every single one of them, but I always think that it's because there's a large number of Akimbawalis who heard what's it called? What is it when someone talks about you, you feel like your ears are burning? Whose ears are burning because they heard you talking about them on the internet.
There you are.
That's what happened.
Yeah, I've summoned them.
You summoned all.
I've gathered you all here today.
We're going to be speaking about worms.
Witness me.
Okay. So I think that's everything. Is there anything else that we missed?
We did a wonderful job. And yeah, if you were a worm,
yeah,
I would love you.
I appreciate that. You see, this is what 4 years of marriage does. Do you remember the very beginning? You were very resistant
to that question, yeah.
To these questions, to these versions of these questions. And you would answer with a whole bunch of rationale. And do you remember what I told you? I said, listen, when I ask you these questions, I'm going to need you to lie to me. Just lie.
Yeah.
Just say what I want you. Just say what you know that I need in that moment. Just lie.
I've always been a rational answer.
Yeah.
Like I would, in a lot of situations that you bring up,
yeah,
I'd always just give you the most rational answer that I have.
It's very frustrating.
And it never works.
No, because this is not a rational question. If it's not a rational question, rational answers are not going to help.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you. Thank you. It really means a lot. Hopefully I've asked less frequently. Alhamdulillah.
Learn from my experience.
There you go.
Amen.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. If you haven't already, don't forget to get your free copy of my Healthy Marriage Habits Guide. The link to that is in the description. And if you'd like guidance, if you're a single woman and you'd like guidance on how to use the dating app safely and successfully, sign up for my live webinar entitled Dating App Strategies That Actually Work. The link to that is also in the description. That's now only offered once a month just because I have so many other commitments. And there's only 8 spots available in that once a month webinar. So be sure to sign up while seats are still available. So that's everything. If you have made it this far in the podcast, we really appreciate you. If you've already subscribed, Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. And if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. If you found anything that we've said helpful, it really does help us out. So thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us. It means a lot. Have a wonderful weekend and assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.